Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Glory Glory My United podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Quinn, and joining me today is Tom Simpson from the United Pubcast. Now, Tom, I did promise you last time that I'd have you on after a victory, and I've been a man of my word. What a fantastic win that was yesterday. Okay, it was boring at times, and United Wolves games they quite often are quite tedious. Um, but Garnacho lit up the stadium once again by coming off the bench and scoring. I'm trying not to get carried away about Garnacho, but I really do think that he's going to be an absolutely sensational talent for Manchester United in years to come. What's your thoughts on Garnacho then, Tom?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me back. And obviously, yes, very good in regards to not just 3 points, but a very important 3 points in regards to the race for the top four and the finish of the season. My thoughts on Garnacho. Look, I share the optimism and the excitement around him. There's no doubt there's a talent there. There's no doubt there's a very high ceiling, if you want to use that terminology. I'm not sold completely. This is not a critique or criticism of him at all. I'm not sold on him being this world beater in regards to this absolute world class talent in the future. Obviously, he could be. I don't think anyone sort of could predict the future on how his career is going to sort of end up going. Fingers crossed that is the case at Manchester United. He turns out to be the next global superstar. It would be absolutely fantastic. I don't see it. I see a fantastic footballer. Like, you don't need to be world class or Kylian Mbappe to have a great career at Manchester United. I see him in that tier below, but I've had those predictions before. I don't think a player will make it. They go on to be absolutely world class. I think players who have the potential to go on to be world class be absolute flops. So who knows how his career will. Obviously, fingers crossed, Eric Ten Hag is the man for that sort of guidance. And if Garnacho continues along this trajectory, there's no doubt the sky is the limit for him, and it'd be great to see because I think that is a huge part of Manchester United. And obviously, we're tied him down to a big contract, so there's a little bit of a demand and expectation that he is going to be this special player that we all hope for.
Yeah, the reason why I'm a bit cautious is because of Adnan Januzaj. I got carried away too soon about him and thought he was going to be the next Ronaldo. That obviously did not materialize, not even close. But I do think Garnacho is a better player. Like you say, he doesn't have to be the next Mbappe to be a star for Man United. Even if he's as good as Ryan Giggs, that would be a massive achievement. Yeah, so the only thing that frustrates me is the fact that Ten Hag doesn't bring him off the bench or brings him on with like 10 minutes to go. Like the crowd were calling for him yesterday at 1-0, because they're desperate for that goal to put the game to bed. And the first substitute that Ten Hag brought on was Weghorst, and we all know he's just not going to score. And eventually he did bring on Garnacho, and what happens? He scores. Um, do you feel a wee bit of frustration with Ten Hag's substitutions at times?
Sometimes depending on the result, I think this one you look at the end up winning 2-0 and you think, okay, the substitutions worked, you can understand them, but then the ones in the last couple of weeks where you lose away at Brighton or at West Ham, you think, well, hang on, the substitutions don't work. So there are frustrations sometimes after that. I think in terms of bringing up Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who was in the news last couple of days in terms of fine margins, I think that is the case with these substitutions. I think at the time of every substitution Eric Ten Hag makes, I think, yeah, I can see his thinking. Whether I agree or disagree, I can see his thinking. Now, the result further down the line is down to individuals on the pitch, Luke Shaw's handball or Garnacho hitting the inside of the post rather than the outside of the post. Those are the fine margins which will determine if we agree with the substitutions at full time or not. In regards to, yeah, I do want to see Garnacho come on. Obviously, he does have that excitement, but in terms of, I do understand Eric Ten Hag being cautious and sort of introducing him slowly again because he has been out injured for a while. It is one of those things you don't want to rush him back. Well, he could potentially play a huge part in that FA Cup final. Obviously, he did have an impact in the match at Old Trafford against Manchester City. So I don't think there's any rush with Garnacho. I think us fans, we do want that excitement. But Eric Ten Hag has paid a lot of money to sort of put that excitement to the side and make the right decision for the player in regards to his actual development and actually he's sort of monitoring him back from injury.
Yeah, so just going to get to the comments here quickly. Brush is joining us and he says, "Good morning, guys. Perfect way to kickstart a Sunday morning with 3 points already in the bag. Happy days, and probably Sunday night for you, Tom. But it really, whenever you get the 3 points early in a weekend, then you can relax and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Whereas if it's an early kickoff and you lose, then it kind of ruins the rest of your weekend. But
Especially with Newcastle dropping points early now, are we sort of trying to get away from the team behind us, or are we trying to catch Newcastle? I think everyone will sort of different opinions in there, but big result regardless of our 3 points. But looking at Newcastle's result, very important.
yeah, I'm not really bothered where we finish third or fourth, as long as we finish above Liverpool. That's the most important thing. Liverpool, I've got Leicester on Monday night. You'd expect Liverpool to get the points there, but hopefully not. I know it'll take a bit more pressure off us, but we just need to get 6 points now, and we're over the line. Yesterday, I didn't care about the performance. It was all about getting the job done. I don't care about any performance for the rest of the season. It's not about entertaining the crowd anymore. It's about getting over the line. Um, and it was another clean sheet, another victory at Old Trafford, Fortress Old Trafford, and I thought the back four were tremendous again yesterday. And David De Gea wasn't even tested yesterday at all, so I'm very very pleased with how we're defending at home anyway. But just even in away games, we're doing okay for 95% of the game, and then we're making individual errors that are costing us in away games. But at home, we've been absolutely immaculate. And De Gea is now guaranteed. De Gea is guaranteed the Golden Glove, even though there's been question marks about his performances. Um, yeah, so I think that might be the back four that starts the cup final. Is that how you see it? Is that how you see it, Tom?
Yeah, you'd have to think maybe a week or so ago, I sort of wasn't sort of foreseeing Rafael Varane to come back. So I just had in my mind Luke Shaw and Victor Lindelof. And then I was thinking, okay, I would prefer Diego Dalot over Terrell Malacia. But it's great to see Rafael Varane back. And if he is going to be fit and available for that FA Cup, obviously, you'd say his first name on the team sheet in regards to if any one of our players is destined to perform well in a final. Rafael Varane is that man. He's done it countless times for France and Real Madrid. So Rafael Varane, if he's fit and available, obviously he plays, and you can't drop Victor Lindelof at the moment. He's playing very well. And Luke Shaw is our best left back. So I think the obvious, yeah, it is our back four. There is a case, depending on the day, how you feel or how Eric Ten Hag wakes up. There is a case for Diego Dalot over Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think, though, against Manchester City at Wembley, it would be Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But I think the rest of the back four picks it. The rest of the back four picks itself. Right back, there is a question there. But in saying that, I think it's probably 80% confident it would be Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, I think against the big teams, Wan-Bissaka has to play for me, because Manchester City are probably going to dominate possession, and we're going to need our best defenders on the pitch. And Dalot, if you remember, in the 6-3 at the Etihad, he got torn the ribbons in that game, so I wouldn't start him. Brush says here, how good was it to see Varane back? We were surprised. Were you surprised it happened so soon and that he managed to complete 80 minutes? Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to play 80 minutes, but it's great to see it happening. I thought he might come off after 60 because he's been out for a wee while. But we just need to keep him wrapped up in cotton wool now for the cup final, because of the fact that Martinez is missing for the cup final. It's absolutely vital that Varane starts that game. So yeah, so pleased about the defending. I know it is Wolves. I know they're not the biggest threat in the Premier League, but we quite recently at home we kept a clean sheet against Aston Villa as well, against Everton. Um, what, what is it with this United team? They're just like night and day when it comes to playing at home and playing away from home. Can you think of any reason for that, Tom?
That's Eric Ten Hag to decide that. That's why he's paid a lot of money to fix those problems. My gut feeling, and it's not so much this. Well, the evidence does suggest this team, but it's not just this team. It's post Fergie. I think it's the last decade, and we can tie this into a discussion about the owners and standards and the culture that is set. But I do think, and sometimes after a win, we'll praise the mentality of these players, and if we lose, we'll question the mentality. I think we're a little bit too fickle as football fans, as Man United fans, towards the mentality of the players. But my hunch is the mentality of some of these players don't fancy away from home when the crowd is up for it. They think, oh, geez, what's going to happen here? And they don't sort of enjoy that sort of hostile atmosphere, because I always make the point, whoever we play against, maybe one or two clubs could make a case. Maybe Tottenham could say Arsenal is a bigger game for them. Maybe, I don't know. I think that's maybe the only one. I think Arsenal is when Manchester United are in town, it's Arsenal's biggest game of the season. I think the only ground is probably when Arsenal go to Tottenham. I think Tottenham, that's probably their biggest game of the season. Everywhere else, we're the biggest game of the season. And that's a lot to deal with for players. That's a lot of pressure put on them, and sometimes I don't think these players deal with the pressure too. And now sometimes they do, and we'll say, "Oh, what great mentality they have," and they're turning a corner. But if the result doesn't go their way, we'll point to the players and say they can't deal with that. But that's where I think the difference is in regards to that home v away record. You look at that great record we had away from home with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the caveat being it being behind closed doors and there was no fans in the ground. So I do think that the fans having their sort of the biggest day of the season does weigh on some of our players a little bit more than it should.
Yeah, it's definitely a psychological issue that Ten Hag needs to address this summer, and we need a big improvement on our way form if we're going to challenge for the Premier League title. So just want to talk about a couple of individuals. Anthony, he's probably one of our biggest threats yesterday. He obviously got the assist for the first goal, but he's just lacking that end product at times. I mean, that easy header that he missed at the back post. Um, yeah, he seemed to be involved in almost every attack yesterday, but they're just the end product is still lacking, and it can frustrate the fans. But I thought he was our biggest threat as well. So he's a bit of an enigma. Um, it's hard to critique him because like I said, he's involved in everything. He's making things happen. He's creating opportunities, but the end product just isn't quite perfect at the moment, and he needs to improve upon that. So what's your thoughts on Anthony then, Tom?
I think he is what he is in regards to when he did sign, and we're sort of watching all those YouTube compilations and what he'll be like. I think we all predicted this. He'll give us flashes of brilliance. He'll curl it in the top corner, and then the next one he'll make the wrong decision. I think that is what it is. We're going to have to be very patient not to compare him to a young Cristiano Ronaldo, but Cristiano Ronaldo in his first two seasons, you talk about lack of end product. My God, that was the definition of Ronaldo. I just think that it is what it is with Anthony at the moment. He's going to sort of curl ones in against Barcelona and give you those great memories. And sometimes against Wolves at home, he's going to maybe be a little bit wasteful. I think obviously something he's going to have to improve, but as a young player, I'm sure he will improve. Erik Ten Hag does have complete trust in him, which is only a good thing for Anthony. He will feel that trust and that faith. But I just think he's that type of player. You're going to have other players who are going to provide a little bit more consistency without that flash of brilliance. He's going to give you that flash of brilliance and win games on his own sometimes. But at other times, the price of that will be a little bit of frustration or lack of end product. Something he's going to have to find in his game as he matures is that little bit more consistency in that final third.
Yeah, we need to see his goals and assists increase next season. But what was good yesterday was that he squared the ball with his right foot, and obviously he's been criticised a lot for being so left-footed. So clearly, he's been working on that. I've seen him do that a bit more now. And another thing I wanted him to do was to shoot to the near post, which he did that yesterday as well. It was brought out
a really good one. Yeah,
brought out a big save from the goalkeeper. Jadon Sancho, though, once again flattered to deceive. I thought Garnacho should have come on for Sancho a lot earlier. Is Sancho running out of time to save his United career? What do you think?
It's a hard one with Jadon Sancho. Answers on a postcard in terms of, I think some opinions will say, no, keep him, give him one more chance. And the next person will say, no, you have to sell him now, cash in. It's not going to work. And I think both opinions are right. I'm right down the middle of this one. I think he actually played quite well. But just in regards to that's what he's in the team for, in regards to in that front area, you need that end product and you need to impact games. And I think you see Marcus Rashford, who I don't think is as good a player technically as Jadon Sancho, impacts games 10 times more. So that makes him 10 times better. So I think Jadon Sancho actually links up the play quite well and offers Erik Ten Hag sort of what he wants from a left-hand side of position, especially linking up when you do have overlap in Luke Shaw. But ultimately, if Jadon Sancho isn't directly impacting games and you have Marcus Rashford sort of fit and available, Jadon Sancho is not going to be playing. And then you obviously have the debate, well, is it worth having a £350,000 a week sitting on the bench in regards to wages? And that's not going to be worthwhile. So then the correct argument will be, well, you have to sell him. So it is a hard one. My personal opinion at the moment, I would give him one more season. Now, he has to definitely improve drastically. But the reason I'd probably, and this you can tie this into a discussion around the owners, The reason I am giving him that year is simply I don't see a situation where we can sell him, because who's going to pay 350 grand a week in wages for Jadon Sancho at the moment? I don't think anyone will. So I think, kindly speaking, we're stuck with him. And Eric Ten Hag and him is going to have to find a way to get the best out of him. But it is that time of his contract, time of his career. If it doesn't work next season, the writing is on the wall, and then there's definitely no debate where his future should be.
Yeah, and I think once Garnacho starts becoming a regular in the 11, and you have Rashford there as well, obviously, and Anthony is a big favourite of the manager. Sancho, he's only going to get opportunities now and again, next season if he's here, and he's going to have to take those, because he's got plenty of opportunities now in the second half of this season. No, don't get me wrong, he's had his moments, but he's not producing enough. So next season he's probably going to be a bench player, and that's a very expensive bench player, isn't it? 73 million he cost, and like you say, his wages is 350k. It's not sustainable in the long term. So he's going to have to improve significantly if he's going to be part of the starting 11 next season. I don't see it at the moment, and reports are saying that Ten Hag has run out of patience with him. I would I'd love to see him do well. He's obviously a nice guy, a very talented footballer, but we're not seeing what he was doing at Dortmund. And he was
Yeah,
taking people on at Dortmund. He was going past them, and now he's stopping and passing the ball back. It just seemed to be a real lack of confidence. Now, there's
yeah,
many players over the years who come to Old Trafford and just not produced it. You can go all the way back to Gary Birtles, I think it was, and there's been numerous, players in the Woodward era that didn't do it either. Hopefully he does not become another one of those. But at the moment, it looks 90% certain that he is going to be the next player not to do it at Old Trafford, unfortunately. But
yeah.
there's reasons to be optimistic about other players. Um, Rashford has had a sensational season. I hope he breaks the 30 goal mark. And obviously Garnacho looks like he has a hell of a future. Before we get on to other topics, just going to do a quick rundown of the player ratings. So David De Gea had nothing to do yesterday, Tom. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
remember.
I don't think there was a shot on target from Wolves. I can't remember actually one save. I think statistically there was no shots on target. So obviously, from a goalkeeper's point of view, obviously we critique his ball playing if we want to, but a 2-0 win and with no shots to save, De Gea, I think it's a pretty standard sort of middle of the road.
Yeah, 6. I'll make this easy. The back four all get a 7 from me, apart from Varane. I think he gets an 8. I thought Varane was absolutely excellent again. Um, he's just like everybody says, he's just a Rolls Royce of a defender. Just brings so much calmness and composure. Reads the game really well. And he's going to be vital if we're going to somehow win the FA Cup. Um, Casemiro, I think an improvement on some of his recent performances, but not quite back to his best yet. So I'll say a 6 for Casemiro. Ericsson, really, real drop off recently, isn't he? Surprised he lost as long as he did. He normally gets subbed a bit earlier for stamina reasons, but he's not impacting games the way he was earlier in the season. So probably a 5 for Ericsson. Sancho, probably a 5. Anthony would be a 6. Bruno, um, lovely assist for the Garnacho goal. Yeah, and he's always a big threat. Most things tend to happen through him. Um, Probably 7 for Bruno, and Martial scored, so I suppose I'll have to give him a 7. But uh, he wasn't. He just doesn't bring to the table what a number 9 should. He tends to drift out to the left quite a lot. I see yesterday he was running out of defender on the left hand side, and he fell over himself. Um,
There's a lot of players slipping, but all over the pitch. A lot of players from both teams. I don't know if it's something on the grass or the choice of studs, but I did notice that Jadon Sancho, and the Jadon Sancho one I put down his confidence and maybe not quite been at it. But then I saw Martial, I saw Aaron Wan-Bissaka at times, and yeah, it is one of those things. But ultimately, is that a reason or excuse? At the highest level, you do need to do better. David De Gea the other week against West Ham, we looked at the weekend. It was actually he slipped. That was the reason the ball went in. He didn't sort of spring off that foot. So slipping, sometimes it's an accident, but you need to make sure you don't slip.
Yeah, I've noticed that in other games as well. Too many players slipping. Was the Tottenham game? I think both sets of players were slipping all over the place. But yeah, Martial. Do you notice when Martial and Sancho were playing, there was very little pressing from the front by United. But once Veghorst and Garnacho came on, there was a lot of pressing, putting the Wolves defense under a lot of pressure. So it's clearly just a personnel thing. It seems like you know it's a decision by Sancho and Martial not to press because other players are coming off the bench and doing it. So it's clearly I don't think that it's the manager's instructions to tell Sancho and Martial not to press. Clearly that's just the way they are. They're not, just not going to do that kind of work off the ball. But if Ten Hag is going to implement his philosophy to the maximum, he's going to have a front three that's all going to be pressing. Does it frustrate you when you watch certain players not working hard enough off the ball, particularly the front players?
I disagree with many people, and I disagree with you in regards to Anthony Martial in regards to his work rate. In my personal opinion, in terms of the way I view it, Anthony Martial does get through a lot of work. I think when we see the ball and the team, sort of their back four has the ball, we're looking at a Marcus Rashford or Bruno Fernandes as closing them down. We think that's work rate. And that is 100%, and that is something maybe Anthony Martial obviously should do a little bit more of, no doubt in that at all. But I look at proper work rate in regards to the stuff off the ball. When the ball's 60 metres away, are you putting the 10, 20 metres in that no one's going to see, that's not really going to make a difference, but you just have to do just in case a situation arises? Are you going to put that work in? And Martial does that in terms of Jadon Sancho and Martial, very different in the way they press, but the result looks the same. Anthony Martial is very clever in regards to where he positions himself. I think sometimes we look at Marcus Rashford and he just sprints at a player. It looks like he's working hard, but it's quite stupid. They just sort of play around him. Anthony Martial is very good at sort of cutting those passing lanes. We think of cutting passing lanes like Michael Carrick or Casemiro at the back. It's a big job for strikers as well. Ronaldo and Anthony Martial do it quite well. But the visual we want is a Carlos Tevez or a Wout Weghorst in regards to closing them down. That's definitely what we want as fans, because that looks like they're working hard. So I disagree with many people in regards to Anthony Martial's work rate. But in regards to the visual, it definitely does look like he needs to do more. Erik Ten Hag plays him from the front when he's fit and available. So I think Erik Ten Hag sees some value in the way he defends. And I would look at the result in regards to the result of Wolves not providing any threat or no shots on goal. That's not to say through Anthony Martial and Jadon Sancho. Obviously, it's got to get through more players than that, but it obviously starts from the front. So I see the critique of Jadon Sancho and Martial defensively against Wolves. Personally, though, just the way I view football, and not rightly or wrongly, just a different set of eyes, I thought they did their job quite well. But it's one of those things, game of opinions.
Yeah, I do think Martial needs to do more, but what he does do, like you say, he prevents the centre back from passing it to the other centre back. He comes in from the side. He blocks off that angle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see what he's doing, but it like you say, it doesn't look as good when you see Weghorst and Tevez and Rashford chasing down the goalkeeper and defenders.
And Martial and Jadon Sancho as well, not just that style, but their body language as well. I don't think that definitely doesn't help them, just in terms of the way their bodies are built and the way they carry themselves. Definitely has that sort of lethargic look to them.
Yeah, like the Berbatov as well. He had that lethargic look to him. Never did much running. But what an elegant footballer he was. Yeah, so really pleased to get the points in the bag, and we just need 2 more wins out of the 3 games, and we're home and hosed, as they say in horse racing. So I'm delighted the way things are going, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was there yesterday, like you mentioned. I think he did a Q&A with the fans the night before. And I think he said that eventually he wants to become a season ticket holder in the Stratford End. He's just a huge fan of the club, isn't he? I don't expect to see Mourinho or Van Gaal in the Stratford End anytime soon. But Solskjaer, regardless of what happened when he was manager, we all know deep down that he wasn't quite the world class coach that we wanted him to be. But he'll always be a legend of the club, won't he?
Oh, look, I can't speak highly enough of Solskjaer in regards to everything he's done for this club. Yes, we can have a discussion about him as manager and was it right to let him go? Of course, but I hated how it ended in regards to the treatment he was receiving, not just from the media, but more importantly, unfortunately, from large sections of the fan base, definitely didn't deserve the treatment he got. I've got nothing but respect for Solskjaer, and seeing him there doing that Legends event the night before, then out at Old Trafford taking photos with fans. I think there's always a place at Manchester United for Solskjaer. 100%. It's just good to see. Definitely a feel good factor. And long may that continue. He obviously spoke. Like, how many players or so managers, I should say, sort of get sacked from a club and still come back and say, look, if they ever want me again, I'll put my hand up again. Could you see Jose Mourinho saying, oh, I'd like to work for Man United again, or Louis van Gaal or David Moyes, I'd like to work for Man United again? No, they'd hold a grudge. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in his interview when he got sacked said, yeah, I didn't get the results. Time for me to step aside. And here he is saying, well, if they ever need me to do something, put out the cones or anything, I'm here. And I think that is a huge part of Manchester United.
Yeah, I suppose the difference between him and the other managers who were sacked after Fergie is that he was a player and a legend as a player. So it's obviously a very different situation. Um, Another thing that I have to mention is Amad Diallo scored yet another
Yeah.
worldie yesterday. Um, Ten Hag is talking up his chances of being part of the squad next season. I think he's going to be invited to the FA Cup final, so he feels part of the squad. Um, the thing is, he plays in Anthony's position, and the manager's quite loyal to Anthony. Um, you probably only really see, barring injury, you only really see Ahmad playing in the cup games, or maybe the odd European game. Um, I just don't want him. If he's going to be part of the squad next season, I don't want him to stagnate. He has to get plenty of opportunities, and uh, with Anthony playing his position, I don't think he's going to. I can't see him playing 30 games. So that's my only concern. But I definitely want him to be part of the first team picture next season. How do you see it then, Tom?
Yeah, no, completely agree. It's a very tricky situation because then you look on the right hand side, but you throw the wide people um, in all the same category. Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho. I'm sure will be linked to one as well. So there's so many names there. Players are going to miss out, and it is obviously that fine balance. Okay, you want the best players on the pitch and competition for places, and someone might provide competition by sitting on the bench for 29 weeks of the season and just sort of having to come in for one or two games here or there. And that's obviously not great for their development. But in regards to results-based business, that's what Eric Ten Hag might need. So we sort of look for these sort of paths to success and a great career at Old Trafford for all these players. Okay, how's Anthony's career going to be at Manchester United? Hopefully he wins 3 trophies and 2 Champions Leagues. We want the same for Ahmad. We want the same for Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford. The nature of the beast is players come and go. So some players we have high hopes for and are deserving of places at Manchester United. It doesn't work out for whatever reason. So there are players who we do see great futures. Let's even throw Jadon Sancho, Garnacho, Rashford, Anthony, Ahmad, Palestri. Unfortunately, some of them aren't going to make it. Some of them are going to move on, and other players are going to come in. That is the nature of the beast playing for Manchester United. So you definitely do see a shootout between Ahmad and Anthony on the right-hand side next season. But it's one of those things. I agree at the moment, Anthony is that player for Eric Ten Hag. But if Ahmad comes in and scores 2 goals on the first game of the season, then another good performance for the rest of that August period, well, he's the first choice. I think we've seen that from Eric Ten Hag. So, and that is ultimately what you want. You need someone coming in, and if they're performing, get rewarded for it.
Yeah, he'll have to make himself undroppable if he's going to be a regular next season, Ahmad. But you wouldn't put it past him the way he's playing for Sunderland. I'm sure Sunderland fans will be devastated to see him go. But yeah, we seem to be stacked in both wings now. Palestri is going to have to leave on loan or permanently in the summer because he's just not getting a kick. A lot of fans are frustrated that he's not getting as many minutes as we thought he was going to get. Um, he's not even coming on as a sub in any of the games now. Uh,
Well,
I
it's
feel a
interesting.
bit sorry for him.
He came in the same time as Ahmad, almost in that pretty much same week. I think they were pretty much the same day they were announced. I think it was that deadline day under Solskjaer. So yeah, their careers are sort of at a crossroads, but one definitely does look a little bit more positive at the moment.
Yeah, I'm with the manager talking up Amad Diallo. Pelestri's probably feeling that he's even further down the pecking order now. So like I say, we're stacked in both wings. The issue now is the sort out that central area. It's a possibility. Veghorst, I think, will definitely go. Martial, there's a big chance that he could go in the summer, and I expect us to spend a lot of money on a replacement. The question, I'm still no closer to knowing who that player is going to be. Are you?
No idea who it will be. My hunch in terms of a real target and whether he's attainable, I think he is attainable. And my preference at the moment is Harry Kane. A lot of people agree and disagree with that. Obviously, as a game of opinions, the man for me is Harry Kane. Now, yes, Eric Ten Hag might know an absolute gem who suits Eric Ten Hag's system a lot better that we don't know about, and he might come in and be a fantastic striker. Of the strikers that I do know that do want to move and could sort of deal with the weight of shirt that is a Manchester United one, it's Harry Kane for me. Now we got to get him. Who knows? Who knows how that deal could potentially eventuate financially? But the man for me is Harry Kane. I understand all the negatives with that, like in terms of the price and everything, his age, injury record, all those are valid. But yeah, for me, it's the Englishman.
Yeah, he's a wonderful player, and I wouldn't complain if he came in. But like I say, the price, the age, and Daniel Levy are the issues with this transfer, because I want to get the striker in as soon as possible. If we're gonna negotiate with Daniel Levy, it could end up happening on August 31st, and I cannot be bothered with another saga like Frankie De Jong last summer.
Yeah.
I'd rather get the striker in early, sign someone who's going to be a bit easier to get. But there are many options out there. Like there's Vlahovic and Ramos and the Oshiman, who probably be even more expensive than Harry Kane. And then there's like left field options like Ivan Ferguson, Ollie Watkins. Um, I'd be happy with any of those players, really, to be honest with you. Obviously, some of them are guaranteed successes, and like Kane, and others are, they could be a risk. Um, but
That's where I sort of tend to side with Harry Kane. Like you talk, and you're right in terms of some are guaranteed goals, some are a bit of a risk. I think the only guarantee, and there's no guarantee, but the only guarantee is Harry Kane. Now, yes, who knows how it's going to eventuate? He might flop, but he's as close to a guarantee for Premier League goals as you're ever going to get. Every other player, but they might have it. They might go on to have a better career than Harry Kane. Who knows? But it is a risk. Now, the risk might pay off, but it might not. So that is where, in terms of that solidity and consistency, I do side with Harry Kane.
yeah, the issue is that if we do get Kane over the line, we'll probably only have him at his peak for another 3 seasons. But it'll be worth it if we win a Premier League title in one of those 3 seasons. Yeah, it'll be like a Van Persie signing. So yeah, definitely wouldn't complain if we got him over the line. My preference would be somebody younger. But if Kane came in, I wouldn't be disappointed at all. And he would improve us massively, just like that. Not only is he a brilliant striker, but his link play, he comes deep. He's almost like Rooney and Van Nistelrooy all in one. If that makes sense.
Far better football than I thought. I remember over the years, I thought, yeah, okay, good striker, scores a lot of goals. Okay, it is what it is. And when Jose Mourinho took over Tottenham, I watched a lot more of Tottenham. They're just on the TV a lot more. And really watching Harry Kane in his game, Jose Mourinho spoke about changing his game, and you did watch Harry Kane closely, and I think, oh, this is a player. When Robin van Persie arrived at Old Trafford, I thought, yeah, okay, good goal scorer. Obviously, he scores goals for Arsenal. We'll see how he does at United. When you watch a player week in, week out, then you realise how good he is. And Harry Kane, I think, obviously he's world class, but some people would critique his sort of world class suitability because of trophies and bottling and Tottenham and everything. I think if you watch him as a player, he's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think he's nailed on now to be the Premier League's greatest ever goal scorer. He'll overtake Alan Shearer in a few years' time if he keeps this up. And if he does that in a red shirt at Manchester United, you'd have to say it would be a successful stint.
Yeah, it would shout of a complete lack of ambition if he just stays at Spurs now and signs a new contract.
Surely he falls. I know he's been on a golf course before asking for a move to Manchester City, so he has shown ambition to go before, and then it's obviously the hands of Daniel Levy. But surely, again, he has to force through a move. He has to know. Look, they lose yesterday again to Aston Villa, and I'm just thinking, surely he puts pressure on to finally leave Tottenham this window.
Yeah, if he wants to win trophies, he has to. It's now or never. I just realised I didn't give Ten Hag a rating. He would probably get a 6 for me because his substitution did kill the game off, but he should have brought him on earlier. in my opinion. I heard that even in the past, Ajax fans were frustrated at the not only the lack of substitutions but the time it takes Ten Hag to make subs. He's
I
quite
feel that,
stubborn.
but I feel
He's
that,
quite
but
stubborn.
I think every club, people say that about Pep. Manchester City fans say that about Pep. Liverpool say that about Klopp. I think every manager, I think we all want that. We just always want to change. And I think that's a societal thing. Well, when we see something not working, okay, fix it. We want always a quick fix. And that is my sort of concern about Eric Ten Hag as well. But I had that about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Jose Mourinho, Van Gaal, even Fergie to an extent. I think that's, I think it's correct at times in terms of analysing the substitution.
Sorry, guys. Tom's computer froze completely. So we're going to have to wrap it up there. I think we covered most topics anyway. So United marching on. Just need 6 more points to guarantee our Champions League spot, and I'm reasonably comfortable, confident that we're going to get the job done. Um, all the Liverpool fans in midweek were very, very confident that United are going to drop points at home to Wolves. A lot of their podcasters and YouTubers were getting quite cocky, so great to see them going silent again. I haven't heard a dicky bird from them in the last 24 hours. So I'll wrap it up there. If everyone could please subscribe to the channel, comment more of your thoughts down below, and smash a like on the video. And I will see everybody again tomorrow night